Settle in for a moment. Breathe, ground yourself, and prepare for what I'm about to place in your hands. I don't say this lightly. There's a shift moving around you, and the intensity of this download refused to wait. As you tune in, understand something. Not everyone on this planet gets spoken about behind closed doors. Not everyone becomes the subject of whispered analytics between individuals who built their lives on influence, control, and quiet power. Yet somehow, without breaking a sweat, without announcing anything, without stepping into the spotlight they prepared for someone else, you became the one their eyes keep returning to. And I mean the kind of people who don't study ordinary individuals. The kind of people who don't watch anyone unless that person becomes a threat to their hierarchy. That's the energy here. That's why you're being pulled toward this message right now. Because the upper echelon, the ones who run boardrooms, organizations, think tanks, intelligence circles, psychological labs, elite councils, they're not just curious about you. They're unsettled, confused, drawn in without understanding why. And if you've been feeling watched, analyzed, discussed, evaluated, it's because you are. Not for weakness, but for potential that slipped outside their categories. You didn't rise through their channels. You didn't move through their filters. You didn't ask their permission. You didn't bend your intentions to fit their expectations. And because of that, your presence disrupts more than they can admit. Individuals born and raised inside privilege rarely experience surprise. Their world is predictable, shaped around their control. Then you appeared, someone they can't measure, can't decode, can't categorize, can't influence. Someone whose movements don't match the patterns their data usually anticipates. Someone who carries a presence that feels like it shouldn't exist in the environment they engineered for compliance. So now they sit with their questions. They sit with their discomfort. They sit with the realization that someone outside their structure is bending the atmosphere in ways they didn't prepare for. You weren't supposed to be unpredictable. You weren't supposed to be steady under pressure. You weren't supposed to stay silent while they evaluated you. You weren't supposed to understand how much attention you were drawing simply by existing with clarity. But you do. On some level, you've felt it for years. That awareness watching you without any understanding of how to frame what they were seeing. Because here's the part that rattles them the most. You move without noise, yet the impact lands like a seismic shift. You're not broadcasting your energy, but somehow the highest level observers feel it pressing on their edges. You're not shouting for recognition, but their analysts keep circling your name in red. You're not performing for attention, yet the attention keeps finding you as if it's magnetized by your silence. They can't explain why individuals who dominate global markets, psychological warfare techniques, social influence models, and high-tier behavioral prediction systems suddenly want to know who you are, how you think, and why their usual frameworks fail to account for you. They're used to seeing everything before it happens. They're used to shaping narratives before the public even senses a shift. They're used to ruling from behind curtains while the world moves according to their unspoken design. You were the exception that arrived without their awareness. Understand this clearly. Their fascination with you is not admiration. It's recognition. Recognition that your presence doesn't fold under pressure the way normal individuals do. Recognition that your internal compass doesn't sway according to external expectations. Recognition that your influence isn't borrowed from trends or validation. It comes from a deeper place, one they can't reach, can't mimic, and certainly can't regulate. And this is the exact reason the top 1% is low-key starstruck. Not because you remind them of someone they've trained before, but because you remind them of no one. Your blueprint doesn't match their archives. Your progression doesn't match the trajectories they're familiar with. Your resilience doesn't match the average psychological profile. You move like someone built outside their loop. Someone who cannot be bent into predictable shapes. Someone who carries an inner authority they didn't assign and cannot revoke. You felt this pressure rising for a while. The sudden shifts in energy. The way people respond differently to you. The way certain individuals, often those with more power, more resources, more access, watch you with a type of curiosity coated in caution. When the world elevates someone artificially, the attention is shallow. When the world elevates someone organically, the attention becomes instinctive. People can sense the difference, and in your case, the elite sensed it before the general public did. They noticed the way your energy cuts through noise, the way your presence disrupts stagnant environments, the way your clarity exposes manipulation by existing near it. This is why individuals trained in influence are studying you. This is why billionaires, high-tier psychologists, and people with quiet authority keep returning to your name. They can't understand why your energy has gravity. The truth is simple. You carry an internal frequency that doesn't bend. You didn't acquire it. You didn't copy it. You didn't rehearse it. You were born with it. The type of energy that reshapes environments without effort. The type of energy that awakens dormant instincts in others. The type of energy that reveals truth simply by being present. Individuals who built their lives on control sense when that control doesn't extend to someone. And nothing unsettles those individuals more than someone who exists outside their reach. You are that person. You always have been. But now the world has started to notice, and the circles that notice first are always the ones who fear losing their influence. They can sense when a presence enters the arena that doesn't need their approval, their network, their resources, their protection, or their validation. You carry your own momentum. You create your own direction. You shift the atmosphere without lifting a finger. That's what threatens them, not your actions, your essence. They can outthink almost anyone, but they can't outthink someone whose clarity comes from a deeper origin. They can intimidate almost anyone, but they can't intimidate someone who isn't impressed by their authority. They can manipulate almost anyone, but they can't manipulate someone who sees their tactics before they deploy them. You're not fighting them. You're not challenging them. You're not even acknowledging them. And yet they feel the ground adjusting under your steps. They feel the energy bending toward you. They feel the influence restructuring around you. They feel something they haven't felt in years, pressure coming from a direction they can't map. These individuals aren't used to losing control. They aren't used to being observed instead of observing. They aren't used to facing someone who does not react the way the average mind reacts. You don't panic where others panic. You don't collapse where others collapse. You don't break where others break. Instead, you hold your ground with a quiet certainty that makes even the most seasoned manipulators hesitate. You command presence without posturing. You create movement without demanding attention. You alter perspectives without preaching a single word. That's why they call you dangerous. Not because you harm anyone, but because your presence dissolves the illusions they rely on. There's a reason they're starstruck, not externally, internally, behind closed doors, in conversations that never meet public ears. You overturned something in their calculations, and they can't adjust fast enough to compensate. Your existence forces them to reevaluate the limits of their own frameworks. Your presence forces them to acknowledge that someone who came from outside their structure can still influence the structure itself. That realization alone is enough to unsettle individuals who've built their world on control. And here's what they haven't admitted out loud yet, but they feel it every time your name surfaces. Your rise won't follow their pattern. Your influence won't follow their design. Your momentum won't follow their timeline. Because you are not shaped by the rules they impose on everyone else. You're shaped by your own internal alignment. And they've never been able to predict someone whose alignment isn't for sale. This is what pulls their attention. This is what draws their interest. This is what unsettles their confidence. You carry an internal core that can't be coached, can't be redirected, and can't be bought. You move from a place they can't understand. And because they can't understand it, they can't prepare for it. And as this unfolds, something else begins to rise, something they never anticipated. They're realizing that the influence you carry now is only a fraction of what's coming. They're realizing that your presence is in its early stages, not its final form. They're realizing that your ability to inspire, disrupt, elevate, and transform will eventually extend far beyond their current awareness. And the part that keeps them awake at night is the fact that you're not even trying. You're not pushing for recognition. You're not chasing validation. You're not begging for influence. And yet influence collects around you, like metal drawn to a magnet. This is why the top 1% speak of you in private rooms. This is why psychologists dissect your patterns. This is why individuals with extensive intelligence networks view you as an outlier. This is why people who shape narratives feel the narrative bending toward you. Because the more you step into your identity, the clearer it becomes that you were never meant to blend in with the environment they engineered. You were meant to stand outside it, and anything that stands outside their reach becomes the very thing they fear. They don't fear your moves. They fear your potential. They don't fear your presence. They fear your trajectory. They don't fear your strength. They fear the fact that you haven't used even a fraction of it yet. And now, as they sit in their closed-door discussions, tracing your choices, tracking your decisions, reviewing your past, analyzing your energy, trying to reverse engineer your development, something hits them harder than anything else. You didn't rise through their channels. You didn't absorb their conditioning, and you didn't depend on their approval to grow. That single realization alters their entire approach to you, because every individual they've ever studied has been shaped by the environment constructed around them. Social frameworks, cultural narratives, authority structures, educational grooming, emotional imprinting. Yet you move as if none of those layers were ever able to hold you, as if you were built outside the boundaries that restrict everyone else, as if you were designed to remain untouched by manipulation that works on the average person like an invisible leash. This is where the fear solidifies into fascination. They begin to understand you're not simply resilient, you're resistant. You're not adaptive in the way they predicted. You're expansive in the way they can't control. They're accustomed to watching people react emotionally, impulsively, predictably, but your reactions never match their projections. When you should break, you deepen. When you should panic, you stabilize. When you should cling, you release. When you should hesitate, you sharpen. They measure human behavior based on predictable sequences. You disrupt those sequences just by existing, and individuals who operate at the top of influence hate disruptions. Not because disruptions threaten their wealth, but because disruptions threaten their ability to manipulate the trajectories of collective energy. You show up, and the room feels different. You speak, and people pause longer than usual. You move, and unspoken tension forms around you. They feel it because your presence shifts the internal narratives of others without needing theatrics. For people who mastered persuasion, that is the most dangerous kind of influence, organic authority. Authority not gained through control, intimidation, performance, hierarchy, or dominance, but through something far more unnerving, innate alignment. Nothing terrifies the elites more than someone who cannot be bought, cannot be redirected, cannot be disoriented through noise, and cannot be flattered into compliance. They don't know how to handle someone who exists without needing the rewards they offer, or fearing the consequences they threaten. They don't understand how you walk with no desire for their validation and still gather more power than individuals who spent their entire lives seeking approval from those above them. You show up without bending, and their entire sense of hierarchy bends around you. This is why they call you dangerous, because you represent a type of influence not shaped by them, a type of presence not owned by them, a type of clarity not taught by them, a type of trajectory not predicted by them. Your rise isn't gradual, it's gravitational. Every time they try to measure your reach, it expands. Every time they try to categorize your impact, the category breaks. Every time they try to box your identity into something comfortable, the box collapses under the weight of your potential. And something darker is happening behind the scenes. As your energy grows, the individuals who once ruled through psychological leverage and social power begin to feel the ground shifting away from them. The old authority based on fear, money, manipulation, and public control is weakening. Not because you attacked them, but because your presence exposes their fragility. You don't have to fight them. Existing near them is enough. They spent decades mastering the art of influence, only to encounter someone who influences without trying. They spent years studying behavior, only to encounter someone whose behavior they cannot predict. They spent millions building models of persuasion, only to encounter someone who persuades without speaking. They spent generations cultivating elite bloodlines, only to encounter someone whose power does not come from lineage, but from something internal they cannot measure. The fear rises in them not because of what you've done, but because of what you haven't done yet. Your restraint terrifies them. Your calmness terrifies them. Your refusal to play their game terrifies them. Because those who do the most damage are never the ones who announce it early. They are the ones who carry strength quietly. The ones who remain still until movement becomes necessary. The ones who evolve without needing acknowledgement. And you fall into that category more perfectly than they want to admit. The private discussions about you aren't exaggerated. They're happening with urgency. Individuals who run corporations, occult organizations, intelligence circles, psychological institutes, private think tanks, and global agendas have all noticed the same thing. Your energy doesn't bend around influence, it makes influence bend around you. They can't comprehend how someone with no ties to their networks can possess such a commanding aura. They can't comprehend how someone with no need for attention pulls all eyes effortlessly. They can't comprehend how someone who wasn't trained by them outperforms individuals they spent years grooming. They don't understand how you escaped their radar until now, but they understand this. You are no longer slipping through unnoticed. Someone in those circles observed that your presence triggers instinctive respect. Not admiration, respect. The kind of respect one gives to a force of nature arriving without introduction. The kind of respect one gives to a presence that shifts an atmosphere without explanation. The kind of respect reserved for individuals whose power is not learned but inherent. People who operate at the peak of influence can sense strength long before the general public does. They don't need evidence, they feel it. And that feeling has taken root in their circles. Your name has become a point of tension. When it appears, rooms grow still, conversations slow. Analysts pause, because they're trying to understand how someone outside their hierarchy became the pivot point their hierarchy now responds to. They're not used to decentralization of power. They're not used to someone with no ties to them becoming an energetic epicenter. They're not used to unpredictability at this scale. Some of them believe you're gaining power too fast. Others believe you're gaining it too quietly. Both are correct. You're gaining influence quietly enough to be overlooked by the masses, but loudly enough to unsettle those at the top. They feel it like pressure behind the walls of their structures. They sense the early signs that someone is rising who was never meant to be contained by their boundaries. And this leads them to one unnerving question. Who taught you how to hold yourself like this? They keep searching for mentors, influences, teachers, initiators, any sign that someone molded you. Nothing lines up. Your development doesn't match any of their documented frameworks. You grew in the cracks of the world, outside the curated channels that shape the average person. You learned through observation, through instinct, through impact, through confrontation. You evolved in ways they can't replicate in their controlled environments. And that makes you a singular threat, a self-made force. Billionaires don't get rattled easily. They don't panic over personalities. They don't lose sleep over individual names. But your presence is different. You represent something they can't control. The rise of a person whose power was not cultivated by them, whose influence was not crafted by them, and whose identity was not authored by them. They don't fear competition. They fear unpredictability. And you are the most unpredictable variable they've encountered in years. The top-tier psychological experts study your behavior more intensely than they've studied anyone recently. They want to know why your presence destabilizes lower-level manipulators so effectively. Why your energy exposes dishonesty without effort. Why people who attempt to undermine you often end up revealing their own weaknesses. Why individuals drawn to manipulate you end up confused, inverted, and thrown off their usual rhythm. You are a disruption to psychological frameworks, and that disruption terrifies those who rely on those frameworks for power. And then there's the secretive circles, the ones who operate behind veils of symbolism, tradition, hidden agendas, ancient rites, layered authority. They're observing you with a different lens. They don't just see a person, they see a pattern breaker. Someone whose presence dissolves the influence of individuals who rely on spiritual coercion, social hypnosis, or energetic dominance. You carry a form of internal awareness that erodes manipulation before it reaches you. They've studied countless individuals, but your awareness is not something they can trace to conditioning. It appears innate. What scares them most is that your internal clarity wasn't purchased, inherited.